everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. I'm Nat.
And I'm Z. Hello, hello.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Good.
Konnichiwa.
Yes.
Greetings. Hello. Top of the
Hello.
morning to you.
Yes. All those good things.
Mhm.
Something I just said reminded me of something I want to cover in the hot tea, which
Mhm.
we're going to go straight to
Yep.
because we have a lot to cover. So we're skipping our
Tea of the day.
and the tea on the table. We're skipping all of that. And we're just getting straight into the hot tea because it's a lot.
There's a lot.
Because a lot has happened since the last time we've recorded.
Yes.
So the first thing is the Grammys. Okay. It's been some time, but there's still some things we need to get into.
Right.
So Beyonce won Dance Album of the Year. She also became the most decorated Grammy artist of all time. So she has the most Grammys of anybody who's ever gotten a Grammy in their life. So
Strange.
kudos to her.
Yes.
Lizzo got Record of the Year. I always wonder because it's like record, song, whatever. Record of the Year is about the production. So her song, I think About Damn Time, won Record of the Year. Bonnie Raitt, which I'm so mad that like everybody after Gen Z was like, who the fuck is, after Gen X was like, who the fuck is Bonnie Raitt? Like, hello. If you don't know Bonnie Raitt,
she's a
something
legend.
is wrong with you. Bonnie Raitt won Song of the Year, and song is for songwriter. And so it makes sense because she's the only person who writes her songs. No shade to anybody else, but she writes her songs. So
she does, always has.
You know, when you have, again, no shade because Beyonce had like 30 writers for one song, but when you are the only writer of your music and it's good, why would I not congratulate you for that by giving you an award?
I think they should do that more.
Yeah. Harry Styles is where I take issue. Sir got Album of the Year. And here's where I have a problem. His album was good. I listened to it. Harry's House was good.
Right.
But not better than Beyonce and Bad Bunny. You not beating Bad. Okay, just take Beyonce out of the equation, right? Because people find that so controversial to have like that just Beyonce tends to be a very polarizing person.
She is.
So take her out of the conversation. You're not beating Bad Bunny, sir. Bad Bunny.
Well,
you're not beating Bad Bunny, sir.
Somebody thought.
Somebody
thought they could.
But it's all so like arbitrary. Like people aren't voting when we're learning. They're not voting based off of
who's voting.
The people who are in the academy, the recording academy,
right?
And I've never looked at what the parameters are for you to be in the voting pool of the academy, but these people are voting based on who they like and who they don't like. Like there are people who said, oh, well, I didn't want to vote for Beyonce to get Album of the Year because she always wins. And it's time for somebody else to win. This woman has never won Album of the Year. That's another thing. How are you the most decorated Grammy artist of all time and never won
Album of the Year? That's a sus.
So I don't like award shows. I don't watch award shows to see or expect anything different. I just don't, right? I never go in thinking, oh, this person is going to win unless, and especially now with the Grammys. Now with the Oscars, you know, I follow that. So I'm a little bit more aware of the performances and what goes into nominating these people. And again, like the Grammys, that's just one thing. And that's like the highest, you know, that's like the highest of the high in the music world. It's like the Oscar. It's like the equivalent of the Oscars. However, there are also multiple other very prestigious awards that an actor can get, right?
Correct.
You can get a Golden Globe. You can get a SAG. So there are other things that you can get that will kind of lean itself to let you know who's in the running, right?
Correct.
Like when Chadwick didn't get the Oscar for Ma Rainey's Ma Rainey's, I forgot.
What's it called? Blues? No.
Well, y'all know the Ma Rainey movie. When he didn't get the Oscar for that, when it was looking like he was, and even the Academy thought he was going to get it because they saved that award to the end, and he didn't even get it. It went to old ass Anthony Hopkins, who wasn't even there. But yeah, so Right. So
Yeah, that's
nothing
true.
really surprises me anymore. But the Grammys are blatantly. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. The Grammys are blatantly racist. They are. And
Yeah.
if you don't think so, look at who's won album of the year. They'll in the last decade alone. White people have beaten Beyonce twice for album of the year. And one person who I love, Adele, said, I don't deserve this at all. I don't know how I got this. This clearly should have gone to Beyonce for
Right.
Lemonade. Someone voted wrong. And I feel like I should not be accepting this. She
That's
literally said that.
crazy when people who win the award say that
And
multiple times in their thank you speech.
And she's right. Like, I loved Adele. I loved 30. No, that wasn't 30. That was 25. I loved 25.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not Lemonade.
No,
It was not
epic.
Lemonade. You cannot tell me that Harry's House is album of the year. Not when you have Bad Bunny and Beyonce in that category. No. I'm sorry. It is not. No. And
Does
I'm not
Harry
even a
write his
Bad
own
Bunny.
songs?
No.
How about I've never heard one of his songs?
You have. You probably just didn't know it was Harry Styles.
Oh. Was it on the radio?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't listen to the radio.
Or it's not even if it's not even on the radio, it's on TikTok. Like, so if you've ever watched a TikTok video, whether it comes through Instagram or some other medium, Facebook,
Oh,
you've
might would have
heard.
been those songs.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a TikTok song, right? It's definitely a song that they put behind videos. So you've heard it.
Oh, it's a TikTok. Yeah, because I don't be paying attention.
Yeah. But you've heard, like, if I played you 2 of his songs, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I've heard this. You've heard it in a Starbucks or a Target or some store. You've heard it.
But it hasn't spoken to me for me to be like, even if I didn't listen to Beyonce, I would still know Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? Harry Styles, he was in One Direction. That's all I know.
I mean, I'm not gonna like, I like the album, and I do sing some stuff,
Right,
but
right. No shade.
And even I would even say, I think Kendrick Lamar was in album of the year category, and I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't know if that beats even that, but I look at it from a clearly creative perspective and how you come across, like, what the album is doing and saying.
Right.
I don't. It just doesn't hit for me, but and then moving on, this is another reason why I say they're racist. So you have Bad Bunny performing. You know Bad Bunny is going to perform. You've asked this man to open up the show. Yeah. You know this man speaks Spanish. Why does the closed captioning say speaking non-English? Not he's speaking Spanish. Not Spanish speaking, not giving them the translation of what this man is saying. You literally have in the caption singing non-English.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
WTF.
In the year of our Lord 2023, this is what we're doing. You are kidding me. You are kidding me. No, sir. No, ma'am. Not in this day and age. You don't.
That's a what? Yo, that's so foul.
So take it from that to then flip it, because now we're going to get into the Super Bowl.
Right.
To flip it to the Super Bowl having the first female deaf ASL interpreter to perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. And sis, and understanding why, because we'll get into it, had more energy than the performer herself.
Can we talk about that? She was hyped because she was like, I'm at the Super Bowl, you know.
She was on beat and everything, and I had to do my research because I'm like, is she just hard of hearing or is she deaf? Because sis, like, was killing it.
She was feeling the rhythm. She was
killing it.
Yeah.
She's a Philly native.
Okay.
And she goes to Bowie. She's actually, so she's at Bowie right now.
Nice.
Sis was killing it. When I rewatched the halftime performance,
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch.
I watched her. I didn't watch it with Rihanna. I watched her.
She was getting it.
But she was doing the block. I said, yes, sis, use them gun fingers.
Block. Don't act like you forgot.
Use them gun fingers, okay? Shoot that shit in the air. That's what I'm talking about.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Go ahead, sis. Go ahead, sis.
So I was thoroughly impressed by that. I was superly entertained by that.
Right.
So, but circling back around, y'all know I'm a Philly native.
Yep.
Born and bred. I bleed green. So I am still a little hurt that they did not win, and especially because the Chiefs did not outplay the Eagles. I don't care what you say. And the thing is, everybody knows this. If you go to Twitter, there are people who weren't invested in the sense that they weren't a Chiefs fan or an Eagles fan. And they were like, they did not outplay the Eagles.
No. They came out blazing, but they didn't outplay them.
They did not. The field was trash.
Oh, my goodness. That was horrible. You saw them divots that kept coming up. They had to keep putting back during halftime, after halftime, and before.
Yes. The only thing that takes the sting out of it is I still like Andy Reid. But let's be clear. The NFL found their new golden boy. Tom Brady has retired. He was their golden boy. Patrick Mahomes is now the golden boy. So much so that I saw something and I tried to find it. And if I can find it, I'll come back to it. I'm not going to say that this is 100% true, but there was a play that the Eagles kept running that was shutting shit down for the Chiefs.
Right.
And apparently now the NFL is going to be looking at this play and have them not, and nobody can do this play anymore.
Are you serious?
Yes. I have to go back and find this story. I was like, excuse me? And
since when?
It's a play that the Eagles specifically do.
But now they can't.
They do something in 3 downs instead of 4 downs. It's something. I have to go back, and I wish I saved it, and I thought I did, and I didn't. Yeah. So now they're going to, during the offseason, they're going to look at this. Are you kidding me?
What? What is that about? How is that even legal?
I don't know.
How's that even allowed?
I don't know. But let me tell you, I think I'm more hurt. I love Jalen Hurts. He's 24. He's going to be good, right?
Yeah.
I feel bad for him because people kept, and I guess that's his motivation. Like, people just don't believe that he is a good quarterback. And so they really have been like, he's not going to be able to get the Eagles anywhere. And this man took the Eagles to the Super Bowl.
Hello.
And we would have won. Okay.
3 touchdowns he made by himself.
So let's cut the nonsense and the shit with that. Okay.
Right.
But let's be clear. Patrick Mahomes is the new golden boy. So anybody that's playing the Chiefs from this point on, understand that they're going to start treating Patrick Mahomes like they did Brady. Y'all know they had that Brady no touch pass rule. They did the same thing for him. Trust and believe they're going to start creating all these new rules to protect Patrick Mahomes. Because they're not elevating him to the new Tom Brady. Everybody was saying, oh, this is a good Super Bowl. It's Kelsey brother against Kelsey brother. It's Andy Reid against his old team. Nick Sirianni against his old balls. It's 2 black men. I was like, Patrick Mahomes does not come across as a black man. Patrick Mahomes comes across as an all lives matter type of individual. And I don't fuck with those kind of people.
Not all lives matter.
I don't. I really don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. He really strikes me as that. Okay? He really does.
That is hysterical.
But the thing that hurt me the most about the Eagles not going to the Super Bowl is that I did not get to go to a parade and be drunk with my sister. That is what hurts me the most. I was looking forward.
Let's look at the concrete things.
Yes, that was what was most important.
I know you were hype about that.
Oh, I was. I was like, I don't have to be a parent for a day.
Hello.
I fully planned on eating edibles and drinking that whole day. That was my self-care.
I'm mad at you.
That was my self-care for that day. I had it planned out.
Oh my god.
And it was ruined.
It was ruined. Ruined.
Because I didn't get to go when they won in 2018 because I was pregnant with Charlie.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So you couldn't do that. That is so true.
So when this time came around, I fully was preparing to climb poles and be drunk. And I didn't get to do it. And I'm disappointed in that. They took that dream from me.
They took that.
So it's always going to be fucking Chiefs.
That dream was snatched.
It was.
And set afire.
Yes. So it'll always be fuck the Chiefs for me.
That is too funny.
But I will say this, us getting to this point has truly gave me a better appreciation for Jason Kelce. I love Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce is Travis Kelce's brother, or Travis Kelce is Jason Kelce's brother. However, whichever way you want to look at it.
The one with the stanky leg, brother.
Yes, I have a better appreciation for Jason Kelce. I'm just gonna say that. That's a good dude right there. I started watching their podcast. That is a good dude right there. Solid dude.
You think he's gonna retire?
I feel like he is. Watching him talk on his last podcast, because they did a podcast after the Super Bowl, which I was surprised. Him and his brother talked about the Super Bowl. And class act. And I just got the sense that he's like, I'm done. He's 35, so yeah. But I have a feeling that he's done. We'll see though. We'll see. Right. We'll see. Rihanna. I got some slack. So people were in my DMs and text messages like, why you talk about you don't got high expectations for Rihanna's
Wait, what? Seriously?
Super Bowl performance. Let me be clear. I love Rihanna. I just never have high expectations for Super Bowl performances, because when you have an artist of that caliber, how can you take all of their
whole catalog
and condense it into like 25 minutes?
Right.
It's difficult. And put on an entertaining show. Like, it's very rare that you can do that. And I like people who lean into the fact that I know I can't do it, so I'm gonna just do me. Like Prince was dope. Right?
For sure.
Or 13 minutes. I'm sorry. It's not even a half an hour. It's 13 minutes. How do you do that? I don't think I liked Beyonce's performance. I don't think I had high marks for that. Bruno Mars, excellent. That was probably one of my favorite performances. Prince is probably one of my favorites. But Rihanna was pregnant.
Yeah.
So I understand that she, but let's also be clear, Rihanna is an entertainer. But Rihanna isn't a performer. She's not giving you and I'm not comparing, but what I'm saying is Beyonce is going to give you the whole thing. She's going to dance.
Right.
She's going to give you all of that. There's going to be some
wind.
There's going to be a whole lot of theatrics. Rihanna's not a dancer.
Right.
So she's going to give you more visual to take away from the fact that I'm not all about that popping my butt. I'm just not going to do all that.
No popping booties over here.
Right. And so I understand.
Look at my fashion. That's usually how she, does her shows and her outfits, and that's that visual that she gives.
She's giving you visual all the time. And honestly, visually, aesthetically, I feel like Rihanna pushes the button a little bit more than Beyonce.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So she pushes the envelope.
Out with Leon Talley.
Yeah, she pushes that envelope. She pushes it more than Beyonce.
I mean, look at her clothing line, which went way further than the other thing.
Ivy Park.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just a different aesthetic.
It is, and that's
much
what I'm
more
saying.
Edgy. Yeah, much more edgy. I like her stuff.
But the girls love them both. I love them both, and so and she's pregnant. So what'd you expect? Like, I saw a meme where they was like, y'all expect Rihanna to do this, and they had some lady spinning on her belly, pop locking and stuff. Like, I know how it feels to be 4 or 5 months pregnant. You ain't about to be doing nobody's pop locking. I ain't twerking. I'm sitting my fat ass down.
Thank you.
I'm not doing all that. So,
but these memes and the redos are hysterical, though.
Yeah, they are.
Very, very entertaining. Kind of a little bit more engaging. Granted, it's only a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Compared to the show, but these remakes on the interwebs are quite entertaining.
They are. So congrats to her and A$AP Rocky. 202. God bless you, but you're rich, so you ain't got to worry about that.
Billionaire. And she's a billionaire. Does she really need to do anything but just stand there?
No, she really doesn't. And that's cool. I mean, she really does it. Like, she came out with her Fenty compact, touched up her makeup, and went on.
Her product placement.
Right.
She's like, I'm going to serve y'all because I know y'all about to buy my shit again. Thanks.
Right. And I do want to touch on something really quickly. The Hoteps, the woke community is out. They're talking about this damn Vogue cover with her and A$AP Rocky and their baby. And people are saying that it's emasculating A$AP. It's just a whole bunch. I don't even want to get into it because I don't have the patience or the time to listen to foolishness like
emasculating.
Yeah, because she's leading him and he's holding the baby. But that bitch is a billionaire. Of course she's gonna lead that man. He ain't got no money.
Okay, so in other words, we're supposed to stick to the misogynistic way of the man leading the
Yes.
woman? Is that what I'm
Yes. Because
getting?
yes, even though I'm funding his lifestyle because she is. I have to play the back
Obviously.
role because I'm the woman. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
What? Ma'am, sirs, I'm a billionaire. I wish you would say something.
But I will just say this, just if y'all want to be entertained, go ahead, go on Twitter. You'll see all of the think pieces on it. I'm not getting
People have
into
too
it.
much time. I'm sorry. I
Very
just
much so.
way too much time and don't understand what woke actually
They
means
don't.
now that it's been overtaken by the Republicans.
No. And the last thing I wanted to say is before we go to break, Tyler Perry. Y'all know I get on Tyler Perry a lot in here because I just don't. He's just a terrible. When it comes to filmmaking and TV shows, he's trash.
The
But that
TV
man
shows,
has a good heart, and
very good art.
his studio in Atlanta, of course, once you build stuff like that, it drives the property value up around that
Studio,
particular area. And
correct.
when that happens, taxes increase, property
Yep.
taxes increase.
We live in
So
PG County. We know how that works.
yes, and so the people where he built it at was a lower income community, and so now that their property taxes have risen, a lot of these people can't afford it, and so they were faced with foreclosures and all kinds of other stuff.
Mm.
So Tyler Perry is actually paying these people's taxes so that they don't have to worry about it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So big ups to him. Like I said, a great
And he's
humanity.
employing some of those folks in the area,
Yeah,
correct?
I
Right?
believe
He's giving
so.
them, yeah.
Jobs. So big ups to Tyler Perry for, a wonderful humanitarian, a terrible, terrible filmmaker. I'm
Wig
sorry.
organizer.
Yes.
The wig
Okay.
organizing game is a little.
Yes. But that's it for me for hot tea.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break and come right back with our tea time segment about narcissism. And we're back. So today we definitely went straight into the hot tea. And there's a lot of times some of the folks that we've spoken about in our hot tea would fall into this category, which is narcissism. You probably think this episode is about you. So off the bat, I know if you're on social media, there's so many little things about narcissism, outing the narc, Dr. Romney, who was on the Red Table Talk. Love her, by the way. So it's coming a little bit more mainstream in conversation. So we wanted to clarify some things because a lot of people may be like, oh, they're narcissistic and all this other stuff. And that's not, we want to make sure we clear some points up and give you guys some info on what exactly narcissism is. So the word narcissism is derived from the name of a Greek mythological figure, Narcissus, son of a god who fell in love with his own reflection and ultimately drowned, from what I understand, because he was trying to kiss on it and fell in the water and killed himself. Okay? Yeah. That just speaks volumes in and of itself because it's like the pivotal point of self-destruction on multiple levels. But from a psychological standpoint, selfishness, it involves selfishness, a sense of entitlement, clear lack of empathy, and a need for admiration is one of the stronger characterizing personality types, right? Then there's the psychoanalytical standpoint, which is self-centeredness arising from failure to distinguish from external objects, either in very young babies or as a feature of mental disorder. So there's two distinct ways to where it is categorized. Someone who exhibits these traits may have the personality disorder, which has to be clinically diagnosed, named narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. So a lot of times we throw the term around, but there actually is a clinical diagnosis. And a lot of people have narcissistic tendencies, but they may not be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So just want to make sure we're clear on that. So a lot of these individuals who have narcissistic tendencies consider themselves very important, and they think they are superior by these behaviors as such as not taking criticism well, having an outside sense of their own potential success. Like they really think they're like the shit all the time, despite what anybody else says. And they have this need to be admired. Like they need accolades, they need people hanging on their every word, all of these things to make them feel important, which is
Yes.
a whole deeper issue
It is. It's a very much.
on multiple levels.
It is. And when we were doing the research for this, I realized, and I had already kind of been well aware of this, but I did a deeper dive and realized that there are more than one form of, there's more than one form or type of narcissism.
Yeah.
There's two categories that narcissistic characteristics or narcissistic people fall into, adaptive and maladaptive narcissism. So like adaptive narcissism would be like, things that are actually helpful, like having a high self-confidence, high self-reliance,
Yeah.
the abilities to celebrate yourself. So adaptive is probably the better of the narcissism, because we
Everybody
all
should
can
have a
be,
little bit of that.
yeah, we all should be a little adaptive,
Right.
narcissistic. We should all have a bit of adaptive narcissism in our system, because
Correct.
yes, you want to celebrate your wins. You want to be able to say, yeah, I'm the shit. I'm the bad bitch in the room. Right? There's
I'm
nothing
that
wrong.
chick.
Right. There's nothing wrong with saying that. It's when adaptive turns into maladaptive that we find the problem.
Woo.
And maladaptive is connected to traits that don't serve you and can negatively impact how you relate to yourself and others. So an example of that would be entitlement, right? I'm entitled to these things. You will give me these things because I'm great.
Just
Because
because I
I am
am
great,
who I
right?
am.
Because I'm here.
Hello.
Aggression, the tendency to take advantage of other people. These are also things that are associated with narcissistic personality disorders. And, what Natalie said at the beginning is very true. Like a lot of people, you have to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. But and narcissism has become a very watered down word.
Yes.
Your boyfriend's a jerk, so he's a narcissist. Your girlfriend's an asshole, so she's a narcissist.
Correct.
And that's not always true. There are people, though, who exhibit narcissistic tendencies. There are people who are narcissists, but maybe have not been clinically diagnosed as having that disorder. Right. So that is very important to know.
And it's hard to diagnose.
It is hard to diagnose because the narcissist understands how to manipulate situations to make them look like everything is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, how would you be in the relationship with them?
Girl.
So they're usually, when we talk about narcissism, it's under the maladaptive umbrella. So usually we don't talk about the good side of narcissism. We usually just focus on the more harmful, the more destructive maladaptive narcissism. So researchers and experts typically work around 5 types of narcissism. So there's an antagonistic narcissism. It's a subtype of one of these. There's communal narcissism, and then there's malignant narcissism. I'm not going to go into all of them, but malignant narcissism is one of the more severe forms of narcissism. This is where you'll find like sadistic behavior, antisocial behavior. This is probably right. Sociopaths, serial killers, probably fall in the malignant narcissism category. Right. The 2 categories that I want to focus on and spend most of our time on would be the overt narcissism and covert. So when we're talking about overt narcissism, it's the most common. One of the most common. And this type of narcissism is what people associate with narcissistic personality. So this is the one that we hear about most of the time. This is somebody who may come across as outgoing, arrogant, entitled, overbearing, have an exaggerated self-image, needing to be praised and admired, exploitative, competitive, and lacking empathy. We see this. You could just take that right there and you say Kanye West, you say Trump.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's some people in your life right now that you're like, yeah, damn, that motherfucker is narcissistic.
Hashtag facts.
I mean, it's that's true. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
and
is.
this is probably the one that gets people the most. And we're not going to get into until next week, like
Mhm.
how people get caught up in the web of a narcissist, right?
Yes, because
Next week we're going to talk about that because it's
it's deep.
gaslighting, love bombing. There's a whole cycle of events that
Mhm.
happen that get you swept up into the narcissistic web
Before you even know it,
before you know it.
until it's too sometimes it's too
It's
late.
too late. But you will see these once the narcissist presents itself. You will start to see these things.
Right.
Very much so. And this is what people talk about when they're talking on their, I've dealt with the narcissist for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he was very overbearing, very controlling. He made everything like everything was my fault. I could never do anything right. He or she was always right.
Yeah.
They never were wrong. They couldn't take any type of criticism because you
Couldn't
criticize them.
understand where I was coming from.
Right. You hear it all the time. This is, I think, the next one is, I think, the most dangerous
Mhm.
version of the two, right? Because it's also very common, which is
Mhm.
covert narcissism. And this is also known as vulnerable narcissism or closet narcissism.
Mhm.
And it's a contrast to what we just heard in over. And I
Right.
almost like to classify this as like almost like being extroverted and introverted.
Mhm.
Overt narcissists tend to be very extroverted individuals,
Extremely.
where I feel like covert are very introverted. And
A
I
little
think
bit
that's
more
why
calculating.
yes, and I think that's why it's a little harder for people to see this happening. And I feel like it's also that's why it's more dangerous
Mhm.
because the signs are so subtle. So,
Very.
like some of the common traits of someone who's covertly narcissistic would include expressions of low self-esteem,
Mm.
higher likelihood of experiencing anxiety, depression, and shame. And I just said it, introversion,
Mhm.
insecurity or low confidence, defensiveness, avoidance, tendency to feel or play the victim.
Ooh, the victim thing.
That's why I think this one is more dangerous because when you're looking at this, you're like, well, this person isn't presenting themselves as a narcissist. And what I know to be narcissism, what I've
Right.
learned to be narcissism, it's not this.
Mhm.
So, and you're probably sitting here saying, well, how is this person a narcissist? Because they always play the victim. They do you wrong. And then it's just like,
Mm.
oh, well, blame me. It's my fault.
I can't
I
do
ain't
anything
I
right
can't do
ever.
anything right. I ain't shit. So now you
Yeah.
don't want to come and talk to them because they're always going to flip it and make them be the victim, even though they hurt you.
Mm. That's a whole other part of the narcissistic abuse that we'll talk about next week, but
Right.
yeah, that's probably one of the more damaging parts.
Or you can't have, hey, the other day, the tone that you took with me, I didn't really like that tone. Oh, what tone? See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what you talking about. They get
Mm.
defensive.
Yep, that defensiveness. And then you like, "Wait, did I just miss something?"
Right. Like, what? Like,
You
I'm just trying to have a
uh,
conversation with you. See,
right.
this is why I don't ever want to talk to you. This is why
Yeah.
I can't have a conversation with you. What?
Wait, what? I just asked literally one question, a clarifying question at that. And now all of a sudden you flipped it, and then you standing there like, "What just happened in these 2 seconds?" And that's part of that manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that victim
You
I'm
know what? I
telling
was watching, like you said, Dr. Romney.
you. Mhm.
I watched
I
this
love
clip
her.
of her because she's a very big person on narcissism.
Yeah. I saw
Um,
her way before she was, like, popular.
Popular, right.
Yeah, so a couple
And
years ago, I
I
found her.
watched something of hers recently, and then I don't want to spend too much time on this because again, we're going to go into it next week. But she was
Yeah.
talking about like how somebody asked her, "Well, how do you confront a narcissist?" And she's like, "You don't." And she was
Mm-mm.
like, "Somebody calls you and says you stop talking to the narcissist." Right, because you're like, I don't want to. You every time I talk to you, it's defensiveness, or
Don't
you just
engage.
it's overbearing. That you just don't engage. So if they call you and they say, "I haven't heard from you in a while," you say, "No, you haven't." Instead of saying, well, the
Hmm.
phone works both ways because that's how they volley. It's like
Mm.
a game. It's like
It
it's
is
like it's
that
like
is so
tennis. It's a volley.
true.
So they want you to say
And
something to give them the opportunity to then switch it
yes.
back on you. But
Mhm.
if you say no, you haven't, then what can they do? There's nothing to follow up with.
Right.
So then they'll try to find something else.
Right.
You
And then
don't
play
leave it
victim.
open-ended. You close everything off.
Yes. So true. So true. And have this, and then have that kind of gives you leverage to kind of walk away to
Yeah.
to a degree,
Yeah.
you know. But as we mentioned, we did talk about the signs and symptoms, but wanted to dive into it a little bit more, um, because it's not a monolith. Not everyone diagnosed with narcissism will have the same type of symptoms. So, that's also kind of why I think the word has just been thrown out so much, and they're so quick to put it on everything. But they may include in these particular actions an exaggerated sense of self importance, a sense of entitlement that Z mentioned earlier, and that constant admiration that they really need. That is just, they need that. It's like a drug to them.
It is.
It's a drug to them. It's an addiction, if you will,
It's
to just
okay.
get that short-term burst of, "Ooh, I'm important," or
Right.
reminding them. And it's because
Right.
their self-esteem is so low that that's how it comes out, that they need that constant, validation.
Right. It's like
Mhm.
you can have your love language can be words of affirmation, right?
Yeah.
But it's when it's in excess. Everything you do
Right.
has to be like applauded.
Yeah.
Why? You came to work. Bitch, sit your ass down and do your work.
Exactly.
Why do I have to give you kudos for doing what you're supposed to
Because
do?
you supposed yeah, that's another thing, like the regular stuff. And there was one comment that I made earlier about with, how is it found in babies or toddlers, in the sense that children think every at that time when they're learning, everything is a big deal to them, which it should be, and how parents applaud them and get that admiration, and they do things for to get that confirmation that you're doing well. That's
Mhm.
all well and good, and but it's when it's taken to the extent, now it develops into entitlement,
Right.
because
I
now
mean,
that parent's been like, "Oh, you're so great.
right.
Oh, you walk on water. Oh, you're the best thing since sliced bread." And then you get to an adult and you're like, "Well, I've always been told this, so why am I not?"
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, children are born to be self-centered. I mean,
Mhm.
those are just facts. Children are
Right.
self-centered. And it's not from a malicious, like, it's just because that's the world does literally revolve
Revolve
around
around
them,
them.
right?
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
but there is a way to, when your child does become of an age, to kind of guide them into, okay, the world does not revolve around your ass,
Right.
okay?
You can check them.
And if you look at the Kanye West documentary, I mean, you could
Mhm.
tell his mother made him think that he was more important to the world than what he was.
Right.
And, you know, it's a shame. I feel that I see this, and this is my own interpretation. I'm
Mhm.
not going off of anything other than what I've seen personally and witnessed. If there is one downside to single parenting when it comes to single moms, some single mothers tend to elevate their sons, because we'll find where you'll see where this is very true, because when we look at gender and narcissism,
Yeah.
where it falls more. But I feel like some mothers, I'm not even gonna say single mothers, I'm just gonna say moms, some moms elevate their sons to a level
Mhm.
of importance that is not sustainable, true, or realistic.
It's like the mama's boy on steroids.
Yeah. And I feel like they make them think that they are the best thing since sliced bread. And
Mhm.
so these men go out into the world thinking that.
And it's displayed in their behavior, how they treat other people.
Right. Now, this isn't to down men, because there are a lot of narcissistic
Women.
women.
Mhm.
I feel like the reason why Kim and Kanye got along so well for so long is because they're both narcissistic individuals.
Mhm. And I think you'd have to be, to an extent, to be think about it, all the reality shows, like the top ones where there's like the Kardashians, you have to have a huge dollop of narcissism for that show to be successful.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's like it's the lifeline of the show, that you just think you're that important based on stuff that they talk about, and you're like, "Why would I care about this conversation
Right.
if you're not in that world.
Right.
But if you're a narcissism, that's what you expect, and you want the likes and you want the attention, and and I don't think, and this is just kind of a sidebar, I think narcissism has also kind of ballooned because of what social media has put importance on likes to
Yeah.
validate. And
Yeah.
so people post, that's why some people post the most random shit. You're like, why did I need to see that?
Right.
And I'm not even on social media like that anymore. I've taken a huge step back from it. So for that reason, and the likes and it's just, but I think that feeds into what has now become the buzzword of relationship analysis of who's narcissistic and not.
Right.
You know, but it's a lot of times, even beyond that, like we just said, you're conceited and boastful, an exaggeration of their talents and achievements. Then that speaks to Kanye. I mean, when he was, I don't even know what Kanye that was. He was like amazing and not just, he was in a different headspace.
Backpack
Right.
Kanye.
It's just, and then now it's like the self-inflated importance of what he's doing and his achievements and the broad stroke conversation and statements that he makes sometimes. You're just like, whoa, dude, back it up. And then the fantasies about beauty, power, and success, which also kind of, and that's not to necessarily pick on Kanye, but he's kind of like our subject matter expert at this point in this conversation because he's showing all of these attributes. So it's the best way for us to kind of,
Well,
you know,
Trump too.
well, yeah, oh, well, yeah. So I just don't like to talk about that person
Neither do I.
as much as I can. But I think one thing is important that also notice with that, with the low self-esteem, there comes the envy. And you all know that we did an episode on envy and jealousy and
Mm-hmm.
how this feeds into how they present themselves because they may be so envious or jealous of someone, they try to outperform to get more attention from that other person because from everyone else because they see someone getting attention that they think they deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And where that's where the entitlement also comes into play. And they also think they have to have the best. We all know, according to Trump, he had the best of everybody. Everything was the best. Everything was, and we know that's not the case. But he harped on that all the time in any of his speeches. He had to say this was the best. My golf course is the best. My hotel is the best. And we all know that's not it. That's not
Mm-hmm.
the truth. But that's what they tell
Or
everyone.
like how he tried to say Rihanna, she's terrible. She has terrible fat. That's all
Yes.
self-projection. You're just mad because she has more money than you. She's a black woman who's beautiful.
She is a billionaire, and you are not.
You are not. She's living her life and on her terms. People love her. No one loves you.
Yeah.
So that's why
and
you're
she's a
attacking her.
foreigner.
Right.
And she's of color.
Right.
And she's a woman.
Right.
So all those things which you already don't like.
She's triggering you.
Yes, she is triggering you for sure. And a lot of times, like we say, people with, like we've said before, people with narcissism have a very hard time accepting criticism. And it can result in difficult working relationships, personal relationships. They can't connect with everyone and function appropriately and effectively. They feel easily slighted. They get angry and impatient really quick. Like we said, 0 to 100. I just asked you one question. How are you already like on the ledge? And I just literally asked one question. Like I don't understand. This is ridiculous. And then false anger and false contempt, which I think is a big one, acting like they're really offended by something, when they truly are not. And they can't handle stress and change because they don't understand or can't process. And it's usually attributed to their feelings of shame, humiliation, because that's like their greatest fear is to be humiliated. Like that
And
is
shamed.
just, and shamed. They just can't process that. And just think about how Trump talked about how many people were at his inauguration. Okay? Can we talk like seriously? He knew, everybody knew that you did not have that many people.
No.
And that was humiliating to him. And he just couldn't take it. So he just kept spreading lies about it.
They kept digitizing, like
And
doing
digitizing.
adding people like,
Right.
sir, you did not have that many.
You did not.
We lived here. We lived
Thank
here.
you. And we
I
saw.
know you did not have that many.
Mm-mm.
I ain't gonna say
Mm-mm.
that you didn't have some, but it definitely wasn't more than Obama. So let's just
Oh,
keep it
hell
real.
no.
You
No, no.
didn't. And he thought he did, and he did not. So, sir, stop. Stop.
Yeah, but there's a lot of projecting with that, and it's just trying to keep their to make them it's like they tell a story enough to try to believe themselves. They believe the story they're telling to make themselves feel better within the situation in which they feel insecure,
Yeah.
you know?
And when you sit there and you think about how someone gets to that point and what
Mhm,
were the factors that led them to be narcissistic, um, definitely there's some neurobiological issues there
mhm,
for some people. There's some genetic makeup for some people.
yep,
But environmental to me seems to be one of the biggest key points
mhm,
here. Some people received too much admiration or criticism early in life from their parents, and therefore
yeah,
develop this narcissistic personality.
mhm,
For example, you're someone who has been praised since birth, that you are the king among kings, the queen
mm,
among queens. You are I feel like my uncle is definitely someone who I don't know if he's a narcissist, so to speak,
right,
but he definitely is someone who got praised too much coming up,
mm,
and that formed him into who he is today. Was is not really a lot. Um, you know, I
and still has a sense of importance.
Right. So you have these people who get praised, and you're the best of the best. No one's better than you. And so
Mhm.
then you get out into the world and you are told you're not the best of the best, and then you take offense to that. Like, how dare
Yeah,
you tell me I'm not the best of the best? Or you set your child up for failure because you've given them such a
yes,
high sense of importance that when
mhm,
rejection comes,
they
they
can't
cannot
handle it.
can handle it, and then they become covert narcissists.
Mhm,
That's how the covert narcissist, I think, is born, because you've put all of this this shit into your child's head,
mm,
and now they get rejection and they shut down, and then they become defensive because they don't want to hear anything negative about themselves.
at all.
When constructive, I say this on this podcast, if this is what this is called, because I don't even know, we may just be talking to ourselves.
I know there's at least 2 people that listen. At least 2 for sure. 'Cause they'll be like, "When is the next episode coming out?"
I
For
know,
sure.
I know. I've said this multiple times, but one of the things I say, you can say whatever you want to say to me. I don't. It's words don't affect me at all. I'm not
Mhm,
gonna say they don't affect me at all, but I don't hold a lot of weight. I don't put a lot of weight into that shit. Like, because I'm not the type of person. I'm not the type of person when I'm arguing with you, I'm going to say things to her, like. Well, let me rephrase that. Let me take that back. If you push me, I will say things that will hurt your feelings. But the things that I'm going to say are absolutely 100% true. And they're things that you don't want to ever hear about be brought up back up again.
right,
9 times out of 10, if you say something to me that you're trying to hurt my feelings with, I've already told you it.
right.
So
So it's
I've
not
I've healed from that. So you could come and say it. I'm like,
the
okay,
leverage isn't there.
and so
And
and your
next.
point is what exactly?
Wasn't that happening like 8 Mile when he went and rapped about
Oh,
everything,
absolutely. He's
but
like,
that
"This
he
is
was
it."
about to get, burnt on,
Mhm.
and Anthony Mackie was like, "Well,
Well, what do you
I ain't got
have?
nothing else to talk about then."
And that has always been my theory. Like, I know people say, "Oh, you talk too much." I've been told that, but I feel like if I tell you everything up front, you can never use it against me ever. When are you gonna be able to use it against me?
I already know that info.
I already told you it. So,
Is that your revelation? Which then, of course, pisses people off more because 'cause you're like, "Oh, thought you said something significant."
right. Now,
No.
if you came to me and said, "You know what? Let me tell you, one time I got so drunk I shit on myself." And then you know what I'm saying? And then we get into an argument like, "That's why you shit on yourself." So, I did. I told you that.
I told you that, so
How's that gonna hurt my feelings? You see what I'm saying?
and I know it's not not everybody obviously can deals with it that way.
No, but
You're right.
And narcissists definitely cannot deal with that.
They cannot take what they dish out for
No.
sure at all. Like,
they don't even want you to know anything about them because they
no,
don't want you to ever have any kind of leverage over them.
over. Yeah, they can't. They can't handle it.
So if
It's
you're
just
in a if you
amazing.
think about it, if you're in a relationship right now, or if you don't know anything about your partner, they might be a narcissist. Your parents, if you still haven't figured out who the fuck your parents are,
Yeah,
your parents may be narcissists.
because that's a whole other gamut outside of relationships where the parental slant comes in with narcissism, and then
Yeah,
they'll sometimes breed narcissistic individuals because of the narcissistic parents. But that's, we'll get into that next week. But it's a
yeah.
whole nother dimension when you bring in the parental slant
I
versus a
think
relationship.
parents do the most harm
Yeah,
because they create the damn narcissists.
yeah, mm-hmm,
For
for sure.
for a lot of them do.
Yeah,
The
whether they're
people that
not
I've come
mindful of it or
across,
not,
yeah,
that's usually where it comes from.
the people I've come across that I have seen exhibit narcissistic tendencies,
Hmm.
absolutely, their parents have
Poured into that,
done a
planted the seed.
doozy on them.
They watered it, they fertilized it, they tended to it, they pruned it, and now there you go, a full-blown narcissist in whatever category they
I've
present.
seen, I've seen it. So,
Yeah, yeah, right there with you. So, as we said with the gender and age, and how does that kind of present itself because of the parental influence is usually more common in men than women. And it often begins in their teenage years or early childhood. So one thing that I'm thinking is, let's say you've already told your son that he's the sun and the moon starts and stars set on them, and then they play a sport, and then they're really good at that sport. Now you
mm,
have a whole team, city, whatever, nation confirming what your mama or daddy told you, and that just blows up into a whole other situation. And I
mm-hmm,
think for some men, why it may be more prominent in some men, this is just me, my little psych hat on, is because they have more opportunities to have those accolades on a repeated basis, as if since they play a sport. Just in that regard for football, that's just a example that I'm giving. And then sometimes, it may be more indicative, depending on the stage of development of their child. It really can, speak to where they are. Like what we talked about earlier with the babies, they're totally self-involved, but they're babies, and you congratulate everything that they do, and everything the world truly does revolve around them. But that's kind of age appropriate, But it doesn't necessarily also mean if that's happening earlier in life that it will present itself later in life. Very small child, like I just said, with their sense of accomplishment or whatever, and the parents indulge them. It's when it gets out of hand and you just keep running that until they're grown and they just cannot comprehend that they are not the best thing since sliced bread. And then the criticism comes into play, and then they can't handle it,
right.
and then there's this a cycle that starts. And then oftentimes, they if a narcissist, or when narcissists get married, do they stay married? And then do they develop those tendencies or overindulgences in their children? So then now the child presents themselves as a narcissist.
Right.
So it's a cycle. It can be a cycle, but it also can be broken, and it's not guaranteed.
Right.
But
Um, so we've talked about all that. Now we're going to talk about just briefly how to handle a narcissist.
hmm
Because this is very broad. Again, next week when we talk about narcissistic abuse and how that forms and how to heal from it, we'll probably dive a little bit deeper because there are different ways to handle a narcissist depending on what type of narcissistic relationship you're in with that person, right?
go with Gray Rock.
So navigating a relationship with the narcissist is extremely frustrating.
Mm,
It's because think about it. It's like you're talking to a brick wall. It's like you're banging your head against a brick wall. It's like you just
insanity.
it is. It's insanity. They can manipulate you, they can exploit you, they can damage your self-esteem, they can alter your sense of reality. They can make you think that what is true is not true.
Oh,
This is probably one of their key characteristics.
yes.
It's
Probably the most
gaslighting.
damaging. One of
Yeah,
the
it's
most damaging.
gaslighting you to believe that what happened didn't really happen. That's not what happened. That's not what I said.
That's not what I said.
What are you talking about? Are you
Totally.
okay?
Oh,
Are you okay? Is everything all right? I remember, I had a situation where I'm having a conversation with somebody about something that happened
Uh-huh.
and that they did. And at this point in time, I was on, we've had this conversation. So this isn't something that's new, but I was on medication for anxiety. And I'm having a conversation with them about something that they did to me, how they offended me.
Mm.
And they did X, and it caused a Y reaction. And this person said, "Did you take your medication today?"
Mm.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Indeed, I did. And what the fuck does that have to do with what I'm talking to you
Exactly.
about right now?
With the price of tea in China. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing.
That is what I'm saying.
Whew.
So, um, so arguing with a narcissist about their actions often prove to be fruitless.
Yeah.
So a more successful solution you need to do is establish boundaries and emotionally distance yourself from that person. Remember, we just gave that example of, oh, I haven't heard from you in a while. No, you haven't. Did that.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize that you may not be able to control your feelings about a person, but you can control how you respond to them.
Right.
Cutting ties with a narcissistic partner, family member, or boss may eventually be the best, if not the only solution. So sometimes you can't even continue to engage in any type of relationship with that person, no matter what type of relationship it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to say, okay, enough is enough. I got to go.
Yeah.
Family, friend, boss,
Yeah.
whatever. Even child.
Yeah.
Because you may not have raised a narcissistic child, but your child becomes narcissistic. You're like, I can't deal with you.
Yeah. And you exit stage left. And
Yeah.
that's self-preservation.
Yes, indeed. Which we need to all engage in.
Yeah.
Reflect on the characteristics of the individual to avoid finding oneself in similar scenarios in the future. I remember having this conversation with therapists once and saying, like, yeah, we focus on what that person did to you. And that's cool. But let's focus on why you were in that situation in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
What? No. What? Excuse me? Don't come for me. No, I am coming for you,
Right.
sis, because I don't care. Yes, that person was a jerk, an asshole, a narcissist, a piece of shit, a psychopath. Okay, that's established. But let's talk about why you were there to begin with. Let's
Mm-hmm.
fix that. And see,
Right.
that's the work that people don't like to do, because then now
And
you
that's
have
a
to
lot of
figure out.
work.
It is a
You
lot of
got to
work,
do the work.
because now you gotta come for yourself. Like, oh, this is not what I thought this was gonna be about. Well, this is what it's about, boo. So let's get
Mm-hmm.
into it. And then you have to refuse to lose yourself or lose your own sense of purpose, because
That's kind of hard
it
sometimes.
is, because the narcissist takes center stage. They
Yeah.
are the star of the show. Okay,
Right.
they are the writer, the producer, the director, the actor, the singer. They are
Everything.
the EGOT. Okay, they do it
Yes.
all.
All of it. All of it.
So so that is those are some ways to handle it. But again, like we said, next week we're going to get into it, diving in even deeper into the world of love bombing and gaslighting and all those
Mhm.
things, and talk more about how we need to heal and handle those relationships with those narcissistic people in our lives. So let's go ahead and take a quick break and come back with our last tip of the day. And we're back. This is the last sip of tea with your hood Dalai Lama. I am your hood Dalai Lama. So today's last sip is: a narcissist's criticism is their autobiography, and that is attributed to M. Wakefield.
Oh, interesting.
Mm.
I
Well,
think that's a very thought-provoking quote there.
yeah, it is.
That a narcissist would even think about that of
Mm,
themselves.
mm,
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 telling.
mhm.
Very telling. Mhm. So, anything else you want to add to that?
No, that's it. I mean, I
All
think that
right.
says enough.
Hey. So thank y'all for joining us this week on Sippin' Tea with Nat and Z. As you know, you can follow us on Instagram at Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z _pod, and on Facebook at Sippin' Tea, Nat and Z. Get information on our upcoming podcast topics, guests, and news. Thanks for listening. Catch us next episode. As we said, we're going to get into healing from narcissistic abuse. Be well and treat each other nicely this week. Enjoy.